What if the person who built one of the most advanced electric vehicle factories in America looked at his own assembly line and said, "I can do this better, with robots powered by artificial intelligence"? That is exactly what just happened. RJ Scaringe, the founder of Rivian, the company that builds those gorgeous electric trucks and SUVs, has quietly spun out an entirely new startup called Mind Robotics. And it is not some small side project. They just raised $500 million in funding to build AI-powered industrial robots. $500 million. For a company most people had never even heard of until this week. And the plan? To train those robots using real-world data from Rivian's own factory and then deploy them right back into that same production environment. This is not some vague promise about robots coming someday in the distant future. This is happening right now, with real money, a real factory, and a founder who has already proven he can build physical things at enormous scale. So what exactly is Mind Robotics building? Where did this $500 million come from? And why should you care even if you never plan to set foot inside a factory? Stick around because this story is way bigger than it looks on the surface. Welcome back to World of AI, your home for the biggest, most important stories at the intersection of artificial intelligence and the real world. And today we have a story that sits right at that intersection in the most literal way possible. We are talking about Mind Robotics, a brand new startup that just emerged from inside Rivian, one of the most ambitious electric vehicle companies on the planet. Mind Robotics has raised $500 million, and its mission is to bring genuinely intelligent robots into industrial manufacturing environments. Now, why does this matter to you? Because this announcement is not just about one company or one factory. It signals a massive shift in how we think about manufacturing, automation, and the role artificial intelligence will play in building the physical things we use every single day. From the car you drive to the phone in your pocket, everything you touch was made in a factory. And Mind Robotics wants to fundamentally change what happens inside those factories. This is not incremental improvement. This is not adding a slightly faster conveyor belt. This is about creating robots that can learn, adapt, and make decisions in real time using artificial intelligence trained on actual production data. And the person leading this charge is not some Silicon Valley newcomer. It is the same engineer and entrepreneur who built Rivian from a blank sheet of paper into a publicly traded company producing tens of thousands of vehicles per year. So let us break this entire story down. What is Mind Robotics? Where did it come from? What are they actually building? And what does it mean for the future of manufacturing and AI? Let us get into it. To understand why Mind Robotics matters, you first need to understand the person behind it and the company it came from. RJ Scaringe is not your typical tech founder. He has a PhD from MIT in mechanical engineering, and he founded Rivian back in 2009 with a singular obsession: to build the best electric vehicles in the world, and to do it from scratch. Not by retrofitting old car platforms, not by licensing someone else's technology, but by designing everything from the ground up. The skateboard platform, the battery architecture, the software, the factory layout, all of it. Ismail. And that factory piece is actually the key to this entire Mind Robotics story. You see, when Rivian built its manufacturing facility, Scaringe did not just focus on the vehicles rolling off the line. He became deeply obsessed with the manufacturing process itself. How do you build things more efficiently? How do you reduce waste? How do you handle the thousands of tiny variations and unexpected problems that pop up on a factory floor every single day? And here is where it gets really interesting. Over the years, Rivian accumulated an enormous amount of data from its manufacturing operations, sensor data from robotic arms, quality inspection data from cameras mounted along the production line, operational data about how materials flow through the facility, timing data about every single step in the assembly process. We are talking about terabytes upon terabytes of real-world industrial information. Scaringe realized something profound. All of that data was just sitting there. It was being used for basic operational monitoring, sure, but it was not being leveraged to its full potential. What if you could feed that data into sophisticated AI models and use it to train robots that did not just follow pre-programmed instructions, but actually understood what they were doing? Robots that could adapt when something unexpected happened. Robots that could learn from mistakes and get better over time, just like a skilled human worker does. That insight is the origin of Mind Robotics. It was not conceived in a pitch meeting or a venture capital brainstorming session. It grew organically out of a real manufacturing operation, from real problems encountered on a real factory floor. Scaringe began building an internal team focused specifically on this challenge, applying cutting-edge AI to industrial robotics. And eventually that team grew large enough and the vision became ambitious enough that it made sense to spin it out as its own independent company. And that is exactly what happened. Mind Robotics was formally spun out of Rivian as a standalone startup with Scaringe at the helm, and it immediately attracted massive investor interest. The result? A $500 million funding round that values this brand new company as a serious player from day one. What makes this origin story so compelling is the built-in advantage Mind Robotics has over virtually any other robotics startup in the world. They are not starting from zero. They are not building robots in a lab and then hoping to find a customer willing to let them test things out. They have an immediate deployment environment, Rivian's factory, and they have an immediate data source, years of manufacturing operational data already collected and ready to be used for training. That is an extraordinarily rare position for a startup, and it goes a long way toward explaining why investors were willing to write checks totaling $500 million before most people even knew this company existed. All right, let us get into the specifics. What exactly is Mind Robotics building, and how does the technology actually work? At its core, Mind Robotics is developing AI-powered robotic systems designed specifically for industrial manufacturing environments. Now, industrial robots are nothing new. Factories have used robotic arms for decades to weld, paint, lift, and assemble components. But those traditional robots are what engineers call hard-coded. They follow a precise set of pre-programmed instructions. Move to position A. Rotate 45 degrees. Apply weld for 3.2 seconds. Move to position B. Repeat. The problem with that approach is that manufacturing is not a perfectly predictable environment. Parts arrive with slight variations. Materials behave differently depending on temperature and humidity. Tools wear down over time. A component might be positioned 0.5 millimeter off from where it should be. And when any of those things happen, a traditional robot either stops, produces a defect, or requires a human operator to intervene and fix the situation. Mind Robotics is taking a fundamentally different approach. Their robots are designed to perceive, reason, and adapt. Instead of following rigid instructions, these systems use AI models trained on massive data sets of real manufacturing operations to understand what they are supposed to accomplish and then figure out the best way to accomplish it in real time, given the actual conditions they encounter. Think of it this way. A traditional robot is like someone following a recipe to the letter. If the recipe says add 1 cup of flour and you only have 3/4 of a cup, They stop and wait for instructions. An AI-powered mind robotics system is more like an experienced chef who understands the purpose of every ingredient and can adjust on the fly to still produce an excellent result. Now, here is where the Rivian connection becomes absolutely critical. Training these kinds of AI models requires enormous amounts of high-quality, real-world data. You cannot just simulate everything in a computer. Simulations are useful, but they always miss the messy, unpredictable details of the physical world. What Mind Robotics has access to is years of actual production data from an operating vehicle manufacturing facility. Sensor readings, camera feeds, quality control records, operational logs. All of it providing the rich, detailed information that AI models need to learn how the real world actually behaves. The $500 million in funding is being directed towards several key areas. First, expanding the research and development team. Building AI systems that can operate reliably in industrial environments is extraordinarily difficult. These are not controlled laboratory conditions. Factories are hot, dusty, noisy, and filled with heavy-moving equipment. The AI models need to be robust enough to perform safely and accurately in those conditions every single time, with no room for error. Second, the funding will go toward developing the physical robotic hardware itself. While Mind Robotics is primarily an AI company, the intelligence needs to live inside a body that can actually interact with the physical world. That means advanced sensors, precision actuators, durable materials, and sophisticated end effectors, the hands and tools at the end of a robot's arms that actually touch and manipulate parts. Third, and this is perhaps the most exciting part, Mind Robotics plans to deploy its first generation of robots directly into Rivian's factory. This is not a theoretical exercise. This is not a demonstration or a proof of concept. This is about putting AI-powered robots onto a live production line where they will work alongside human operators to build actual vehicles that real customers will drive. That deployment strategy is brilliant for several reasons. It gives Mind Robotics immediate feedback on how their systems perform in real conditions. It allows them to iterate and improve rapidly, and it creates a powerful proof point for future customers. When Mind Robotics eventually goes to other manufacturers and says, "Our robots can transform your factory," they will not be making promises. They will be showing results from an actual operating environment. The technical architecture, based on what has been disclosed so far, appears to involve large foundation models trained on multimodal industrial data. That means vision, force sensing, spatial positioning, and temporal patterns all integrated into a unified AI system. These models learn general manufacturing intelligence, and then they can be fine-tuned for specific tasks, much like how large language models learn general language understanding and then get adapted for specific applications. This approach means that as Mind Robotics deploys more robots and collects more data, their entire system gets smarter. Every robot benefits from the experiences of every other robot. It is a compounding advantage that gets stronger over time, which is exactly the kind of dynamic that makes investors extremely excited. So what does all of this mean for the bigger picture? Let us zoom out and think about the implications of Mind Robotics and this $500 million bet on AI-powered industrial robots. The first and most immediate implication is for manufacturing itself. The global manufacturing industry is facing a serious problem. In virtually every developed country, there is a growing shortage of skilled factory workers. Experienced machinists, welders, and assembly technicians are retiring, and younger workers are not replacing them in sufficient numbers. Factories are struggling to find enough qualified people to operate at full capacity. Mind Robotics is positioned to address that gap directly. Not by replacing human workers entirely, that is a common misconception, but by augmenting the workforce. AI-powered robots can handle the repetitive, physically demanding, and sometimes dangerous tasks, freeing up human workers to focus on higher-level problem-solving, quality oversight, and process improvement. It is about making every human worker in a factory more productive and more valuable. The second major implication is about the convergence of AI and the physical world. For the past several years, the AI revolution has been primarily a digital phenomenon. Language models, image generators, coding assistants, these are all software tools that live inside computers. Mind Robotics represents the next frontier, AI that can actually touch, move, and build things in the real physical world. This is enormously significant because the physical world is where most of the global economy actually operates. Manufacturing, logistics, construction, agriculture, these industries collectively represent trillions of dollars of economic activity, and they have been largely untouched by the recent AI boom. Mind Robotics is one of the first companies with both the technology and the resources to bring serious AI capability into these physical domains at scale. The third implication is about data as a competitive moat. Mind Robotics has something that almost no other robotics startup possesses: access to a continuous stream of high-quality, real-world manufacturing data from an operating factory. That data is the fuel that powers their AI models, and as they collect more of it, their systems become increasingly difficult for others to replicate. Think about why this matters so much. A startup building robots in a laboratory can train on simulated data and small-scale experiments. But simulation is always an approximation. It never fully captures the complexity of real-world conditions. Mind Robotics is training on reality itself, and that gives their AI models a depth of understanding that simulation alone simply cannot match. The fourth implication is perhaps the most exciting and the most speculative. If Mind Robotics succeeds in creating truly intelligent industrial robots, the technology will not stay confined to automotive manufacturing. Think about electronics assembly, where components are incredibly tiny and tolerances are measured in microns. Think about pharmaceutical manufacturing, where contamination control is paramount. Think about food processing, aerospace, shipbuilding. Every industry that makes physical products could potentially benefit from this technology. And here is the long-term vision that makes that $500 million investment make sense. Mind Robotics is not building a product for one factory. They are building a platform, a general-purpose AI system for industrial robotics that can be adapted and deployed across virtually any manufacturing environment. Rivian's factory is the proving ground, the first customer, and the data source. But the ultimate market is the entire global manufacturing sector. The funding also sends a powerful signal to the broader investment community. $500 million is an enormous sum for a startup, especially one that is building hardware and not just software. It tells us that sophisticated investors believe the time is right for AI-powered industrial robotics, and that Mind Robotics, with its unique origin story and data advantage, is the right team to lead this charge. We are potentially looking at the beginning of a new industrial revolution, one where artificial intelligence does not just help us think and create digitally, but actually helps us build the physical world around us, faster, better, safer, and more efficiently than ever before. And Mind Robotics is positioning itself to be right at the center of that transformation. All right, let us bring it all together. Here are the three biggest takeaways from this story. Number 1. Mind Robotics has raised $500 million, making it one of the best-funded robotics startups in the world right out of the gate. This is not a small experiment. This is a serious, well-resourced company with a clear mission and immediate access to a real factory environment for training and deployment. Number 2. The company's unique advantage comes from its origin inside Rivian. Having access to years of real-world manufacturing data and an immediate deployment environment gives Mind Robotics a head start that is extraordinarily difficult for anyone else to replicate. Data is the new oil, and Mind Robotics is sitting on a massive reserve of it. Number 3. This announcement signals a major new chapter in the AI revolution, the move from digital intelligence to physical intelligence. AI that can operate in the messy, unpredictable real world of factories, warehouses, and production lines is the next great frontier, and Mind Robotics is making one of the boldest bets we have seen to conquer it. This is a story we are going to be following very closely, and I have a feeling this is just the beginning. We will be back with updates as Mind Robotics moves from funding announcement to actual deployment and beyond. Now, I want to hear from you. What do you think about AI-powered robots moving into factories? Is this the future of manufacturing, or are there risks and challenges that we should be more worried about? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love having these conversations with you. If you found this breakdown valuable, smash that like button so more people can discover it. And if you are not already part of the community, now is the time. Subscribe to World of AI so you never miss the latest AI news.